страны. Для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства. Это не блеф.
And as expected, the nuclear battle between Russia and Ukraine has already begun, shockingly initiated, not from the ones we had expected, but rather from the underdogs. With the recent news of the Crimea bridge being bombed by the Ukrainians that made everyone's blood run cold, what does this mean for the future of Russia and Ukraine? Is this the beginning of World War III? And most importantly, what does this signify to the rest of the world? Watch the video till the very end, as you don't want to miss out on what we have in store for you. The video we displayed in the beginning was just 2 weeks ago. The president of the country with the world's strongest nuclear power plant threatens to use it in a country less than half of it in every way, Ukraine. The possibility of a nuclear war is at its highest since the last 60 years, says American President Joe Biden. However, the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan last week said that despite Moscow's nuclear hints, the U.S. had seen no signs that Russia was inherently preparing to use their nuclear weapons. Ukraine, on the other hand, has been retaking territory illegally occupied by Russia back at full speed. This includes the 4 regions of Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. Even as Mr. Putin signed the final papers formally annexing 4 regions of Ukraine, Kyiv's forces were advancing inside those areas and reclaiming them back. For several months, U.S. officials have been warning that Russia could resort to the use of weapons of mass destruction if it suffers setbacks on the battlefield. With the underwhelming performance of the armed forces on the battlefield, the ineffective strategy and planning, citizens fear that the nuclear bombings could no longer be just a possibility in Putin's head. Paul Stronsky of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace told the BBC that Russia's plan is to keep the West in fear. He added that it's rather unlikely for Putin to actually start nuclear bombings on Ukraine, as he knows the result will hurt Russia enormously too. He called his act of threatening cowardly and shamed him for threatening to bomb on the innocent people of a country. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, however, is confident in his country's position. In an interview with the BBC, President Zelensky denied having instructed strikes on Russia, claiming that an earlier remark had been misinterpreted. He added that his measures are preventative and not destructive. The recent bombing of the bridge in Crimea was done to ensure the supply routes were affected. It was one of the biggest supply routes of Russia. The act wasn't one to harm the civilians, but to put pressure on the economy to make sure Putin backs off. We are sure all the bridges between Zelensky and Putin were burned with this horrific move from Ukraine. President Zelensky said Russian forces were putting up a good enough fight, but that Ukraine had received weapons. I won't say we have enough now, and soldiers were motivated to push forward, he said. Amid the losses in the war, President Putin announced the mobilization of hundreds of thousands of reservists, which led to rare anti-war protests in Russia and a huge emigration of military-age men. President Zelensky, on the other hand, urged Russians to fight for their own bodies, rights, and souls. He threw light on the fact that the mobilized young adults from Russia, who have had nothing to gain from this war, are forced to participate in it. Without proper protection, guns, or armor, they are being thrown in battlegrounds like cannon fodder. If they want to be kebabs, fine, let them come. But if they are people after all, and think that this is their life, they have to fight, Zelensky said. The truth is, Putin is slowly losing the war not just to the Ukrainians, but even the one with his own subjects. Unable to keep up the promises which were declared at the beginning of the war, the fight to claim back the glory of the USSR has only gotten harder for him. The Cold War has already started manifesting itself slowly around the world. With hikes in prices of all basic necessities, massive inflation in the US, and countries picking sides, history definitely seems to be repeating itself. However, we really hope this doesn't come true in the case of a nuclear war, as the world is truly not ready for it. Even with bombings just in Ukraine and Russia, the impact of this nuclear reaction would show up in every part of the world for decades to come. With the recent bombings, no one can predict what would Vladimir's next move be. Is his planned destruction or retraction? Only time will tell. Nonetheless, Zelensky seems to be fine, and prepared for both options and gave a savage reply to an interviewer who questioned him about Vladimir. Savage reply, "I don't care." What do you guys think is in store for the future for both these countries and their presidents? Whose side are you on? Let us know in the comments down below, and we will see you very soon with another video.